Hello, welcome to Skill Check, the positive gaming podcast from YMCA Exeter. My name is Andy.
And my name is Becky.
And yet again, things are a little bit different. Things
I know,
are kind
we
of
keep
changing.
moving the room around.
Got a different table.
Nice, yeah.
What do you reckon of this table layout?
It's not, I mean, the table is small, but I think it's good. Like, we'll get there.
It's a little bit more kind of, yeah. Anyway.
We're trying to work out how best to set up the room. If you're on YouTube, you can see how it looks. But it's a bit complicated because every week it changes.
Yeah. But the table's a bit on a slant on the camera today.
Yeah. We've got some beautiful curtains in here now.
Very nice curtains, beautiful curtains, with massive thanks to the person who cut the curtains, kind of cut it to size, made it look amazing. They did a awesome job.
That's my mother, by the way. That's why we're mentioning it. It's because my mum made the curtains in here, which are great. Thanks, Mum.
And worthwhile mentioning anyway.
Yeah. It's made the room a lot darker and it made the lightings a lot better.
Oh, yes.
So, if you're not on YouTube, get on YouTube and have a look. That's what I'm saying, What have we got coming up, Andy? And he's like, I'm getting in there first, because normally he says it to me and I'm like, I have to go through the rundown, so Andy can do it this time.
So we are looking at games that are all about mental health. We have the game of the week, which is, again, a bit of a repeat. But first things first, we have gaming news. Now, gaming news.
Our first piece of gaming news this week is the UK government has responded to the Stop Killing Games petition, saying that there is no requirement in UK law that forces companies to support old software. The Department of Culture, Media and Sport said video games companies must comply with the existing consumer laws, but also noted that there is no law compelling them to support older versions of them. Founder Ross Scott is hoping that pressure from gamers will convince governments to impose laws requiring games makers to ensure games are left playable in a playable state when online support is ended, very generally by removing any dependence on connectivity in order to function. The UK government and Parliament petition website says that any petition garnering more than 10,000 signatures will get a response from the government, and Stop Killing Games petition is well past that benchmark, having attracted more than 23,000 signatures so far. The site does not, however, guarantee a response that will make the petitioners happy, and I have guessed that many are not happy with this reply. We talked about this last week, which is why this isn't in any news, because we talked about this petition, and he got very passionate about it, and this was not the news he was looking for.
Well, it's not just not the news I was looking for. I mean, if you look at the longer response, it compares video games to phones.
Okay.
The hardware, and they kind of argue that you don't expect latest firmware updates to work on old phones.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, that's not really the same, because you can still generally use your phone.
Yeah.
Your phone is still usable. You just can't use most up-to-date software on it. But what we're talking about is games you actually can't use.
Yeah. And it's not even to the point
Was that polite enough?
Yeah. It's not even to the point of like, you could use them on a backdated version, you just can't use them out. Which obviously with a phone, you could still...
you can still use phones, you can still use it as a phone, you can still potentially use old apps on that phone. Yeah. You just can't use the more up-to-date... I mean, there's games that I can't use, that I can't play on my phone, and it's only just a couple of years old. But that's because it's got higher hardware requirements.
Yeah. I think if you get to 100,000 signatures on the government website, you then get it debated in Parliament. So if they get to 100,000, then it will be debated, which is maybe the next choice is to get them to debate. If you haven't signed a petition, go and sign the petition.
And there'll be a link to this in the show notes.
He's going to go find it. Our next piece of gaming news is developers of an upcoming Marvel game have apologised after content creators were told they could not give it a negative review. Marvel Rivals faced criticism after some people playing a test version of the game were asked to sign a non-disparagement clause in a contract with the developers. It said gamers agreed not to make any public statements that could determine detrimental to the game's reputation, such as negative review, belittling gameplay, or making disparaging or satirical comments. Following the backlash, Marvel Rivals said it was sorry for confusion, suspicion, and frustration caused by these excessively restrictive terms. The game was developed by Chinese game giant NetEase in collaboration with Marvel Games.
I mean...
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I feel like it's sort of the point of getting people to test the game is to go, this doesn't work, that doesn't work.
I mean, yeah, it's like... Well, what they're trying to avoid is people kind of playing a game and sharing it as, this game is rubbish.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually, if your game is that bad...
Yeah.
Should it be released for any sort of public testing? But it's also down on the people who are reviewing it to say, I've played a test version.
It's a test
It's
version.
rubbish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a test version. And actually, watching a few reviews, a few comments, by far the most negative thing that people are saying about this game is this contract.
Okay.
There are some issues with the game at the moment, and people are being upfront about that, and but people also been upfront about the fact it's a test version, and actually a lot of the stuff can be ironed out.
Yep.
But aside from that, it's a perfectly fine game.
Yeah.
It looks good. Probably going to cost an arm and a leg to get any sort of in-game purchases. But,
Yeah. I mean, I think that was the thing, as for me, is it's a test version. I think any criticism has to come with the fact that it is a test version. Like, it's not going to be perfect because it's a test version. Like, it's not... Mm-hmm. That's the point of having things tested, is so that they can find the flaws and make it better, basically.
Totally.
Watch this space. I'm sure it will come up in Andy's Game of the Week, because it's probably going to be a kind of game that Andy wants to play. Are
you trying to say that I might enjoy something Marvel related?
Yeah.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel that's a fair assumption. Our final piece of gaming news this week is, according to well-known leaker Midori, Nintendo has been calling its new console the Switch 2 and the new Switch behind closed doors, but it might not be the actual name when it's finally unveiled to the public outside of a random tweet on Tuesday, that is. In conversations with developers, including Atlas and Sega over the past few years, the next hardware is using the name Switch 2 or New Switch, Midori said. But I do not think that it's the final name. While we don't know much about the Switch 2, including its name, insiders have shared some details about the console, what the console might look like if we finally get our hands on it. Reportedly, it will be backwards compatible for both physical and digital games, meaning that you can transfer your entire Switch library over to the new hardware and keep on playing your favourite games.
I love the idea of it being backwards compatible.
It's interesting. I mean, many consoles do that anymore, right?
It's just gonna keep the Nintendo player base with the new Nintendo console. It's going to. I'm here for it. I'm looking forward to it as a new console.
Are you saving
it
up
would
already?
be awesome. It would be awesome if you could get Game Pass on it. There was lots of rumors about it ages ago.
Yeah. It's a very interesting one because I went further down in the same article. It's basically saying that it might not be a completely new console. It might just be a new iteration of the Switch.
No. I mean, it might even be called Switch.
Yeah.
It might be called Switch 2. And the reason why I'm saying that is because Switch is such a big name.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be more than just a fresh iteration. I mean, the Switch is what, 7 years old? 8 years old?
If you think about it, we've had the Switch OLED since then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it has had its kind of mid-generation reiteration.
I'm waiting to see if we get anything about what they've said is that I think the details will be released later this year, and then with I can't remember what they said about when potential release. I think it was next year. Release.
I think it's going to be the next fiscal year that will be released.
Yeah.
And we'll hear about it before the end of this financial year.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see all the details and see what it says. I mean, this is the thing. We're going to talk about Switches more than anything because both of us are Switch players. So
it's also massively kind of family friendly console as well.
Yeah, so we're waiting for the next iteration. It'll be fun to see what.
Totally.
And that's the end of gaming news.
How we often kind of talk about how gaming is good for us, and we kind of talk about, and that's obviously a positive well-being, mental health thing.
Yeah.
Right. And that's basically the whole point of this podcast.
Yeah.
What we don't often talk about is games that take mental health issues.
Yeah.
And very much kind of focus on that, and that is the point of the game.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing.
Okay.
All right. So we're talking a few games that actually, if we want to discuss an aspect of mental health difficulty or well-being, it is a mental health difficulty. Let's just call it what it is. And if we want to kind of see it represented or a story told with that featured, and not just impacting the main character, but also part of the story.
Yeah.
And I guess the difference between it impacting the main character and being part of the story and just part of the character's main story. Backstory would be you get games, I think Assassin's Creed 2 is probably one, where the main player's main family might get killed in the opening act, and the whole thing's about kind of grief and revenge. But actually, the part about grief is kind of left behind, and it's all about. Whereas it being part of the main character's story is more kind of akin to actually how does this impact them.
Yeah.
So, I cannot go any further without talking about Hellblade 2.
Okay.
Coming out next week, Hellblade features a main character who has psychosis. And that is kind of shown through hallucinations and also hearing voices as well. Hellblade is quite an experience.
Okay.
The voices are recorded. I think it's I can't remember the name of the recording, but it's basically the approach where they try and create like a 3D sound.
Oh, okay.
And
I know what you mean. I can't think of the technical term for it.
And it works so well.
Well.
So that's coming out next week. So Hellblade 2, the sequel to Hellblade, obviously, is coming out next week.
You gonna review it?
I might do. Okay. I mean, it will be 18 rated.
Okay.
Would be played in the cloud gaming, so my ability to play it is going to be squished down.
Okay.
A little bit. But yeah, I'm looking forward to trying to find time to play that when the little one is asleep, away, not
out of the
about.
building.
Let's see if I can find an excuse to play it when working from home. I don't know.
Okay. It's not technically work.
Celeste, we talked about Celeste last week. Moving on. Where you're basically climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
And the mountain is there to represent her anxiety.
Yeah.
And there's a few other things to it as well. We've got Sea of Solitude, which I think we've covered in a game of a week, where you're basically navigating a submerged city. And that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
But actually, it's more kind of navigating all feelings about being alone. And those things you kind of talk to yourself, say to yourself. Those comments that if someone else was to say it, that would be harsh. That would be terrible. Yeah. You don't say that.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if you, we always say, if you wouldn't say it to a friend, you shouldn't say it to yourself.
Yeah, we do. And we do. This game.
Yeah.
says it out loud.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good contemplation thing, isn't it? Like, it's a really good contemplation to think about how hard you're being on yourself when you're alone.
So. We've got Gris or however you want to pronounce it. I keep hearing all sorts of ways. Gris, Spanish for grey.
Yeah.
It's about grief. It's about despair. It's about kind of trying to find personal growth and getting your strength back.
Yeah.
No words said out loud at all in the game. It's all done through music and colour. Odd one, Stardew Valley.
Interesting.
Because it is incredibly difficult to talk about games about mental health and well-being without talking about either Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing. But I would argue the very start of Stardew Valley. I know you did not get on with Stardew Valley.
I tried.
You didn't like the whole kind of.
It was really
here's a map. Here's a farm. Go nuts.
I know. I couldn't get my brain around it.
But that start.
Yeah.
Where Grandpa's dying, and he says, "Look, when you're on your last leg, when you need it, open this envelope." And it then cuts to you working for a faceless corporation.
Yeah.
Alone in your cubicle.
Oh, it's a sad.
Well, I kind of feel that. I kind of.
Yeah. I mean, that is not sad for everyone. Some people like that kind of job.
It's not sad for everyone. But how it's presented is very much this person's not in a good place.
Yeah.
This person is quite kind of.
Sad?
Sad, kind of just fed up of it, fed up of. Yeah, there's lots of watching in this office. I think a funny feeling there might be CCTV in all the cubicles just to really make a point, which obviously doesn't happen.
Yeah,
but it's there to represent something.
Yeah.
Other quick fire suggestions: Actual Sunlight, Depression Quest, Town of Light, Spiritfarer, Suicide of Rachel Foster, Psychonauts, Guilt. The list goes on.
We talked about quite a few of these before, so it's like actually if you go back over a previous podcast, you can probably find like reviews of them if you want as well. But I think it's really like interesting when a game doesn't just have like mental health as a side note. It actually like brings it into the game.
Yeah, and I think it's good that games are covering this.
Yeah.
It's good that it kind of gives you something like an outward thing to help process feelings you might be having. But with that in mind, it's always, like we said before, it's always good to research the game you're actually buying. Looking at the Suicide of Rachel Foster, for example, there's at least one review on Steam where someone brought it not really knowing what they're getting.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the game for them at all. So always good to kind of check out the games you are getting, just in case there's something like this.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And as like we always remind people when we talk about this kind of stuff, if you are struggling, please do get in contact with someone. Like, yes, we can obviously play these games and they can bring up stuff to us that we wouldn't necessarily always remember, but actually we really want to emphasize that you shouldn't just play the games. You should go and get help, chat to someone, talk to a friend, talk to someone. Always get professional help as well. Like there's other kind of avenues. So,
I guess it's about the content you are consuming. In that there are some films that I probably would be better off not watching.
Yeah.
There's some TV shows that I actively avoid watching because I know it covers topics that don't sit well with me.
Yeah.
So therefore I don't watch it.
Yeah.
And it's the exact same within games as well.
Now it's time for Andy's Game of the Week. Andy, what is your game this week?
Well, last week I kind of talked about games. Bristol, not really doing much gaming. And So I guess it's kind of a sequel to that.
Okay.
In that when we were up there was some Minecraft played.
Okay.
Not by myself, but by the kids.
Yeah.
And we kind of brought that kind of fresh love for Minecraft back home.
Young people really are obsessed with this game.
I'm fair enough. Absolutely fair enough.
Fascinating about Minecraft is that it has not gone away.
No.
So like they had a massive trend of Fortnite and it kind of went away a bit. It's still around, but it's not like that. Whereas now Minecraft just has not gone away.
Interesting you say that. Literally, they're literally celebrating the 15th anniversary of Minecraft.
An old game.
Well, exactly. My daughter was like, it's been around longer than I have. It's older than me.
Yeah, it's older than her.
I'm like, yeah. But I think what is new this time is that we're kind of starting to plow into like the plugins, the extra bits and pieces you can get for Minecraft, the guinea pigs you can get.
Guinea pigs?
But
real life guinea pigs, like not actual guinea pigs, not like.
Yeah.
Wow.
You actually get real life guinea pigs that you put into Minecraft.
I didn't mean it like that.
But yeah, you've got like pets that you can get. So you've got a dog. I think I've got a T-Rex actually, which is kind of
just casually carrying around a T-Rex. This is what
it's oddly cute.
I get it. I understand why young people love Minecraft. It's very creative. It's a really creative game. However, I don't understand. There were bits of it that I'm like, I don't understand. Like how we just casually can have a T-Rex as a pet, or
yeah. You can train the T-Rex and it'll just follow you around.
That I couldn't comprehend a lot of the time.
And you can train. Well, you can train with guinea pigs.
Yeah.
The guinea pigs will just follow you around the map, squeaking away.
I mean, that
you can build.
Annoying.
It kind of gives you. You have more options to build your house. Personally, I want to create a Minecraft bar. That could just be me.
Or Minecraft YMCA extra. You can all come and visit in Minecraft world. He's like looking silent.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
Yeah.
I'd do that.
It's good. It's got my head now.
Especially with like furniture plugins and stuff like that, I could actually go crazy with clocks and curtains and
go crazy.
Chairs, and I might do this.
So in a few, I'm going to say a year's time, because let's give you some time to do that. If we're talking about this again, it's because Anna's created like a YMCA extended Minecraft world. And
it's Minecraft. We are going to talk about it again. Oh, we could so do that. Coming soon. Anyway, this is meant to be a really short segment and we are really going on. So I'm just going to say Minecraft available on all platforms.
Also potentially coming
to Steam soon.
Hopefully.
I say available on all platforms. It's probably don't hate me if it's not. It's on as good as all platforms.
With that little tidbit, it's time. It's the end of our podcast today. We are doing a shortened podcast next week. Is that right, Andy?
Yes, we are.
Because I am not here, so Andy's going to do a little short one. Please do like and follow and subscribe. And if you are finding us on our social medias, we are at YMCA Exeter and at YMCA Exeter Games. And we will see you next week.